It's often helpful to be able to sift through an array to find the minimum or maximum value. So in this lesson, let's take a look at an algorithm that we can use to find the min or max value from an array of integers. Let's switch into Eclipse, and I'm going to create a new class. I'm going to name this MinMax. That's with a capital M for min and a capital M for max. And this is going into my array algorithms package. And make sure to check the checkbox here to create your main method. And we'll hit finish. Now I'm just going to change the comment here. We'll have this say finding a min or max value. Now let's create an array of integers. I'm going to name this nums, and I'll use the curly bracket syntax to fill my array. So we'll just stick in a bunch of integers here. I'll use 20, 4, 33, and 101, 14, and one more, 76. So let's use this array and try finding the max integer. We first need a starting value that we're going to use to compare the other values of the array to, and we'll keep track of this value by putting it into a variable, and this is going to act as the current max value. So let's create a new variable. It's going to be of the type integer. I'm going to name it curmax, short for current max, and I'm going to use the very first value from the array. So we'll use our nums array, and we'll grab whatever's in index 0. In this case, it's going to be holding the integer value of 20. Now, it doesn't matter if this is the actual max value. We just need a number that we can start with. So we're starting with the very first number in the array, index 0. Next, we can loop over our array and compare each value after the first one to the value that's in our current max variable. If one of the other values in the array is larger than our current max variable's value, we'll replace the previous value with the newly found larger value. And this will continue through the entire array, keeping track of the max value until the loop finishes. Now let's create our for loop, and we'll set our I variable equal to 1. Now the reason that we're setting it to 1 is because we already have the value of the first index, which is index 0. We have that stored here in our curmax variable. So we don't need to compare the value to itself. We only need to start looping over the array at index 1, not at index 0. Let's now set our condition. It's going to be while I is less than the length of our nums variable, and then we'll just increment I. Now inside of our loop, we can compare each value within the array to our curmax variable's value using an if statement. So let's check if the value of nums I is greater than the value that's stored in our curmax variable. If this evaluates to true, that means we've found a number within our array that is larger than our curmax value. In that case, we're just going to replace the curmax variable's current value with this new larger value. That way we can keep track of the largest value in our array. To do that, we can just reassign curmax equal to whatever is inside of nums I. So on the first loop, I is going to be equal to 1, and our if statement is going to check if the value in index position 1 is greater than the current value that's inside of our curmax variable. So in this case, it's going to check if the integer 4, which is in index position 1 of our array, it's going to check if that's greater than our curmax variable's value, which is holding whatever's in index position 0, which in this case is integer 20. Now that's going to evaluate to false because 4 is not greater than 20. So the loop runs a second time, and this time I will be equal to 2 since i's incremented in the loop. So it's going to check if the value in index position 2 is greater than the value that's in our curmax variable. Index position 2 holds the integer value of 33, and it's going to check if that's greater than what's in curmax, which is currently it's holding the integer of 20. So that is going to evaluate to true. And so now curmax will hold a new value of 33. Then the loop will run a third time, and this continues all the way through our entire array, keeping track of the max value in our curmax variable. So at the end of all of the loops, we end up with the maximum value being stored into our curmax variable. And that's it. Let's now print this out to the console to ensure that it did find the max value. So let's use system.out.println, and we'll just print out our curmax variable. Let's save the file, and we'll run the program. And great, you can see that it's printed out 101, which is our max value from the nums array. Now you can easily convert this to find the minimum value if you wanted, just by changing the greater than sign to a lesser than sign. Next up, we're going to take a look at one final helpful array algorithm for calculating the sum of an array of integers. But that's it for this video, and I'll see you in the next lesson.